coming from, but also shows that you are making an effort to understand things from their perspective. You do not have to make their situation your own, agree with them, or let their feelings and opinions dominate yours. You are simply trying to narrow the gap between you both, to show that you are willing to try to understand the other person's situation. Point of view, thoughts, and feelings. Identify and learn from good listeners. Can you think of someone you know who is good at managing difficult people? Do you think they are good listeners? How do they show they've taken on board what the other person is saying? What questions do they ask? Practice active listening. Becoming a good listener takes time, patience, and concentration. It also takes practice. But you don't need to wait for a difficult person or situation to practice active listening. You can practice with a friend. Here's how. One of you talks for 2 minutes on one of the subjects listed below. When the speaker has finished speaking, the listener can reflect back what he or she thinks the speaker said and how they felt. A TV show or personality that irritates and annoys you, a time when you were disappointed, e.g. you didn't get the job, house, flat, or football score you wanted, the worst job or holiday you ever had, a time when a friend let you down. Nonverbal communication. There's a lot to be gained by developing your listening skills. It will help you to improve your understanding of other people's behavior, motivations, and point of view. But it's not just what a person says, their verbal communication, that tells you what they're saying and where they're coming from. What a person does not say, their nonverbal communication, can give you a real insight into what's going on. In interactions with other people where emotions and feelings are involved, research shows that communication is made up of 7% what is said, 38% tone of voice, 55% body language. This means that a huge amount, 93%, of how a person feels is communicated non-verbally. The overwhelming meaning of a message, when communicating with others, comes from an unconscious display of the silent language, which reinforces, detracts, or contradicts what they are saying. Often, you know what someone is feeling just by looking at their face. You don't need them to explain in words if they are experiencing one of the basic emotions: surprise, anger, joy, disgust, fear, or sadness. But it's not just facial expressions that can clue you into how someone else is feeling. Other nonverbal communication signals, a person's gestures, posture, eye contact, can tell you a lot about their feelings, intentions, and motivations. Interestingly, when communication is difficult, our body language becomes more pronounced. It doesn't take you long to notice that someone is angry if they are using short, sharp gestures. You can also tell that someone is anxious if they are fiddling and twiddling. However, body language signals can often be hard to interpret. For example, it would be easy to conclude that someone crossing their arms is feeling defensive, or someone drumming their fingers on the table is feeling impatient or irritated. Certainly, someone crossing their arms could be feeling defensive, they could just as easily be feeling cold. And someone drumming their fingers on the table could simply be tapping out a rhythm. You can't rely on a single gesture, facial expression, and so on to tell you how they are feeling. You need to take into consideration a combination, or cluster, of nonverbal signals. Clusters are when a number of nonverbal communications and actions occur close together and so indicate a consistent message. Clusters and combinations of nonverbal communications provide a much more reliable indication of what's going on than one or two isolated gestures or facial expressions. A single body language signal isn't as reliable as several signals, so do look out for a number of signs that all seem to add up to the person saying one thing. For example, you may notice someone has their arms crossed. Look again and you may see that they are not making eye contact and are talking in short, sharp sentences. But if you notice they are stamping their feet, and when they uncross their arms they blow into their cupped hands, you will conclude that, in fact, they are cold. Notice too, if what someone says matches or if it is at odds with their nonverbal behavior. This is particularly important when it comes to dealing with difficult people who are passive-aggressive and indirectly hostile, because that incongruence confirms what you are already picking up. that they are not being honest with you. For example, imagine you ask a friend whether they would come with you to collect some furniture you'd recently bought. They reply, "Yeah, okay." You're not convinced that they really do want to help, so you ask, "Are you sure?" Your friend replies, "I said sure, didn't I?" But the fact that they mumble their reply and don't make eye contact leaves you unsure. You may not know exactly what that is, but you've picked up the mismatch between verbal and nonverbal messages. You're sensing their reluctance because their verbal communication, what they say, does not match their nonverbal communication. This mismatch is known as leakage. Leakage occurs when a person says one thing but their body language, gestures, and so on leak something different. It's unconscious, they won't be aware of it, but if you fail to recognize these clues, you risk being misled. You'll misunderstand what someone is really thinking and feeling. So, when you feel that someone isn't coming across as honest or real, it's probably because their nonverbal communication doesn't match what they are saying. This mismatch creates a sense of confusion and distrust. Understanding body language can be seen as a form of mind reading. If you can read someone's body language, you are reading their feelings and thoughts. In any one of us, whatever is happening on the inside can be reflected on the outside, even when we're silent. So remember, when it comes to getting a better understanding of what someone is really feeling, you need to take a combination of nonverbal signals into consideration. Intuition. Picking up on a combination of nonverbal signals in a particular situation can also be seen as your intuition. Intuition is an unconscious process of tuning into and responding to a combination of nonverbal information in a specific context. For example, imagine a parent is lecturing her teenage son about not having a party when she's away at the weekend. The parent finishes with, "Did you hear what I just said?" If her son vehemently replies, "Of course, I did. I told you already, I'm going to Luke's house for the night," it could put the parent on her guard. Why? Because when someone is being dishonest, they may overcompensate and the pitch and volume of their voice will rise. Combined with the lack of eye contact and crossed arms as he replies, the parent intuitively doesn't trust her son. When people are lying, they may rehearse the words they use but not their body language. So when their body language says something different from their words, you know you're not getting the whole truth. Look for the bigger picture as well as the details. Then, if you are in a situation where you don't believe what someone is saying, when it doesn't ring true or feel right, you are saying or get a sense of what is going on between them.